is miserable. I was on Twitter last night, of course, early in the morning, looking at all of the dour, miserable tweets from the other side, and the psychological projection which they employ in everything they do. And they kept talking about how mad we were. Wasn't I talking about this yesterday? Look at how mad and outraged they are. Now, we were laughing at you last night. And if you didn't hear it, listen again. Yes, we're having fun, right? We having fun yet? I know I've been up all night, so I'm extremely grateful that there are so many bright, shiny faces, some using toothpicks to prop open the eyelids, I'm sure. But we have a lot of work to do. And one of the things that I'm so grateful for from Americans for Prosperity over the years has been the laser focus on RightOnline. It's not Republicans online. It's not Romney online. It's RightOnline. And while we may have disparate interests and disagreements amongst ourselves in the conservative family over races, strategy, and tactics, we are bound by this singular passion that each and every one of you in this room, the people watching on the live stream, the bloggers who are covering this, the podcasters on Radio Row, the talk show hosts who have come here year after year, understanding that the right thrives on freedom. Our opponents thrive on force and coercion. We are here as a result of individual choice and voluntary association and love of our founding fathers' principles that made this country what it is. The other side is united by their treacherous agenda to tear down everything that's been built up over generations. This really is a line in the sand. And what I want to do is focus a little bit today on the online part of RightOnline. Because the fact is, we are winning. We are winning. And you need to use every ounce of your energy to make that message clear, because it's driving the other side nuts. Did you hear the commander-in-chief whining about how his opponents were able to summarize his campaign in one tweet? This gave rise to the wonderful hashtag on Twitter, characters to spare. Because we can summarize his failures in 140 characters or less. Fail. A lot of characters to spare there. Keynesian insanity. Okay, that's a couple more characters. Still a couple characters to spare there. Cylindra. Let's move. Let's move you out. My friend John Nolte, who is a Breitbart blogger, published, I think, what is a very important manifesto about the use and our victories in the Twitter battle space. And we've been along the same lines of thinking here. I launched a Twitter curation and aggregation site called twitchy.com in March. And it really is the first entrant in this space. And it's very important, as John has said, because it's all about pushing back against false progressive narratives. Another good friend and inspiration of mine, Ben Howe at Red State, put it very succinctly. And this is what's great about Twitter. is that we're able to distill our thoughts in a very clear way. There's none of this mamby-pamby, off-teleprompter filibustering that we get not just from the commander-in-chief, but pretty much every inarticulate progressive that's in the public square. And what Ben House said, I think, is very potent, and I think it really is an MO for conservatives online, and that is that you do not defeat narratives by ignoring them. You defeat them by crushing them and pushing back forcefully and getting in their faces online and in real life. Of course, Andrew Breitbart was the embodiment of that. Now, not all of us, I certainly can't, have the bravado to put on a pair of rollerblades and roll right into those camps. But Andrew inspired the next generation of young conservatives who are going to do that. Like I said yesterday, we need all ranks of foot soldiers, number crunchers, analysts, bloggers who do long-form reporting, investigative reporting. We've got this vanguard of investigative reporters, the James O'Keeffes, the Hannah Giles, the Lila Grace Roses. God bless them. We are so grateful for what they do, risking their lives. I think it's very important to appreciate how we've evolved, and how we've evolved specifically on Twitter. And I signed up in about, I think it was August 2008. It was right around the time of the Democratic National Convention, and I was trying to stay in touch with friends who were on the ground. Now, I didn't realize later that I would be accosted by an Occupy-style nutball in Denver on the ground, who was in my face and literally almost spat on me. Fortunately, there was an entourage of bloggers who were around who protected me back then. But it was important to stay in touch with other people, and that's how I first got into the medium. And some of those early hashtags were so critical in the kind of community organizing that the left has been so good at. Early on, we had Teacup. Any early members of that? Yes. We had, here we go. We had the precursors to the Tea Party, the early organizers. SGP. Smart Girl Politics. The Twisters. Any Twisters out there? Yes, girls. And then, of course, this. A huge milestone. And I think that we cannot underestimate these symbols. It's more than just games that we're playing online, because this is what it's all about. The power of the hashtag can't be underestimated. I think it's a nice coincidence that this means pound, because that's what we're doing back to them. Pound right back. I talked about the sense of humor that's been unleashed, and the way in which it's driving the David Axelrods of the world crazy, and the Soledad O'Briens. Does anyone remember this? Yep. Stop tweeting Soledad. This, I think, was a really revealing moment, because it stripped these elitist journalists who pose and pretend and fake populism, they get on Twitter and they tell us about how they're gurus of social engagement. And then when you actually try and use the @ sign to talk to them, they accuse you of harassing them. So when occupiers use the @ sign, that's inspiring political activism. And when we use it, it's tantamount to terrorism. They don't want to hear from the barbarians at the gate, "Stop tweeting Soledad." And as many of you will recall from that episode, what she didn't want to hear about is what the Breitbart bloggers were bringing to the table about Barack Obama's radical past. She didn't want to hear about critical legal theory. She didn't want to hear about Derek Bell and the left-wing progressive ideologues who crusade in the name of fairness while they're staking out preferential treatment for their cronies. Stop tweeting Soledad. And all were men. And Rachel. And Matt Lauer, who's tweeting about Justin Bieber. Because he's a real reporter and we're just bloggers. Take note, progressives on Twitter, we're laughing at you. This is not outrage. This is outrage. This is laughing at you. God bless Jim Treacher. This is what Sarah Palin was talking about yesterday when she talked about the real reporters not doing basic work like, I don't know, reading Obama's autobiography. And what was handy and useful about that episode was, first of all, the dog recipes are... But that penetrated the mainstream culture. Even my hairstylist, my 20-year-old hairstylist had heard of it and was talking about it, talking about the dog jokes. People who weren't necessarily politically engaged. But these are the kind of people who will consume The Daily Show and listen to the Letterman jokes and all of Pig Mar's jokes. But humor is a way to reach a non-traditional, and particularly a young audience, which leads me to another great milestone. Shout out to Misfit Politics. And Ezra and Brendan. Wow. Who can say this without all of the 28s? What a fabulous way to diffuse the hubris of the left and these people who again fashion themselves the monopolists and the overseers of the new media space. Each and every one of you ought to be signed up on Twitter, and if not, at least reading Twitchy. There's my self-promotional plug. But you know, even in that, you know, the thing about the blogosphere that I appreciate after nearly a decade is there's no such thing as being merely a self-promoter in the blogosphere. This is a smear, you know, a tactic that they've leveled against Governor Palin, and they did it against Andrew Breitbart and me as well. But we realize that the only way that you're a successful part of this organic movement and this organic environment and climate is to know that it is, although we're each individually doing our own thing. I mean, this really is the greatest illustration of the Big Tent. We don't always agree on policies and candidates. Some of us have very different passions. Some of us focus on the Second Amendment, which of course those Second Amendment bloggers, and I'll remind you again, led us to the expose of the Fast and Furious scandal. Religious liberty bloggers, pro-life bloggers, mommy bloggers, property rights bloggers, sound science bloggers, legal bloggers. We need each and every one of you concentrating in order to win, and each in our own way to wage war. It is a privilege and an honor to fight alongside you. And the context, the historical context of the development of conservatives online really did break through with Drudge, the original citizen journalist. And Breitbart. But I think particularly for the younger generation of conservative activists, know that you were preceded by the likes of the Powerline bloggers who celebrated 10 years on the internet this year. Glenn Reynolds at the University of Tennessee, the law professor who's been the godfather of the blogosphere and who really drove home this concept that we are an army of Davids. Lucianne Goldberg and Jonah Goldberg were there in the nascent days of the conservative movement online. And I mentioned the freerepublic.com. Before there were conservative activists and people with video cameras going into the Occupy camps, and we got those great documentaries yesterday, there were Free Republic activists who waged war on the precursors to Occupy, the Code Pinkos, and the Answer Mob. And they're of course all of a piece. These are all the George Soros-funded monkeys that I was talking about last night. They've always been with us, and as funny as they can be with their tambourines and drums, these people are destructive. These people have caused millions of dollars in losses of businesses in places like Oakland and the Northwest and Los Angeles and across the country. And those stories need to be told, and those people need to be combated, and we need to win, because this is war. Get energized, go out there, redouble your efforts. I thank you, and learn a lot from these panels the next day. And take it home with you, spread the word, speak truth to power.